And so seven was like sitting there one night. She was like 3 years old, and she was saying, "You guys don't understand how tough it is. Like I have to balance stuff on other dimensions, and for you guys to like be able to be doing all the stuff that you're doing, you don't understand how tough my life is." And my mom's looking at me. She's like, "This is your influence." I'm like, "No, it's not." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "I'm just." She's like, "Make it stop, make it stop." I'm like, "No, mom, I'm not going to make it stop. This is who she is. I'm going to let her be herself."
Right.
And yeah, and so she was just like, she was just going off. She was like, "You guys don't understand how tough it is, like the job that I have to do here on earth, like in order for you guys to be able to live this life that you're living, like you don't understand what goes into it and stuff." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, sweet girl." Like, yeah, she was just
When did you like start realizing that she was not really like other children? Like that she
um
had spiritual side?
So, her dad left us at about 1.5 years old, and she started having experiences in her room. I'll never forget. I had this friend over, Ashley, and we heard her cry. And I would always like keep her door shut, like just halfway. And so she was across the hall from me, and so I was like, "Oh, someone was crying, so I'm gonna go check." So I went in, and when I pushed the door open, I felt this woo, 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 woo. And then as soon as I stepped over the threshold, something went. It all just disappeared into the walls, and I was like, like it freaked me out so bad. But for some reason, I knew, I'm like, there was entities in there, and that was not something that I would have normally jumped to. But like, I grabbed her and I woke her up, and she's like looking at me like, what? I was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah." So, and I took her in my room, and I was like, "Okay, you're sleeping with me for the next couple of days." So, because I was really terrified because I just didn't know what was going on. And then, so then I put her back in her room like a week later. And then I woke her up. We were going to daycare, and she had like these surgical scars that looked like they had been healed over. And I was like, "Seven, did you scratch yourself?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Who did that?" And she was like, "Omi." And I'm like, "Omi is my mom because we're German. That's what she calls her." And she's like, I'm like, "Omi's in Texas." And she was like, "No, Omi came to visit me last night." And I'm like, "Okay." So I started reaching out to people who were like experiencers and stuff like that. And this one woman reached out back to me and said, they usually come as somebody first to make sure the child's comfortable so that they don't get freaked out. And so they're probably just checking on her and like monitoring like her vitals and everything like that. And I was just like, "Okay." And so that started happening. And then when I would pick her up from daycare, she was like, "Mom, I went to Mars last night and I got to go heal blind aliens." And I'm like, so I went to the daycare. I'm like, "Are you guys talking about like planets and stuff?" And she was like, "No, we're doing like counting things like 1, 2, 3, 4, like ABCs. We're not." And I'm like, "You're sure nobody was talking about Mars or anything?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay." And she got real upset. Seven was like, "I don't know if I can do this, Mom. Like they really want me to heal these blind aliens. I don't know if I can do it." And I was like, "Okay, baby, I'm sure you can. You got this." And she just then the next day she came back and she was like, I did it, I was able to heal these blind. And so from what I understood, they were hybrid babies on Mars. That and she actually has told me that's where she came from, like Mars, millions of years, billions of years ago. That's where that they lived, and they got stuck, and then their planet like overheated and was destroyed. And so like that's where she came from. Yeah.
It said unreachable. We're podcasting.
Right now? What am I supposed to do?
You're supposed to podcast. You can hop on.
Link?
I sent it to you. You dang dong. Let me find it. I know I sent it to you.
You probably did. And then
I sent you a bunch of stuff.
video, DreamWorks, Festival, Oyster.
Hold on. I sent it in the group one.
Jesus H. Christ.
Let me personally send it to you, Anthony.
Jesus H. Christ.
Good God. Okay. All right. Bye.
What's up, Anthony?
My stuff is blowing up right now. Sorry. We were having a good conversation too, Anthony.
There we
Yeah.
go. I just wanted to make sure I had it all. Yeah, I had to make sure the camera is all the way where it's supposed to be. What are you guys talking about? Did you guys already start? Did we already start?
7. Yeah, we started a little bit because we were talking about 7. I have because that okay. So this is gonna sound really stupid, but I know what it is now. But what 7 does whenever she like changes her voice, right? So it's
Mhm.
called light language.
Mhm.
Okay, so like there was somebody else that did that, and I was just like doing a podcast, and I started doing it, and it clicked a memory in my head of like, oh my God, I did that when I was a kid. But I literally was
I did
like,
too. I did too. And most kids do. Yes, most kids do. And it's because they remember it from the other side. We actually met a girl who on TikTok, she posted a video and she said, I had a near-death experience and I came back and this was the language that I learned in heaven. Like, and so people were tagging us like, listen to Seven of the Stars, like this, the same language that she speaks. And she was like, yes, that's it. So we had them talk. We had Seven and her talk, and they had a full-on 2-hour conversation with each other just in light language, and they understood each other. And it was like it was really, really crazy. But the kids remember this. They remember this language because they are so close to the other side. And so also animals know it too. Like if you speak light language around an animal, they'll perk up too. And babies as well. If you said babies are like, oh, and they'll start babbling in light language too.
so can
Mhm.
you explain like that process? Because there is a majority of the world they have no idea what this is. So like what is it? Explain it. Where is it coming from? Like what happens to you or 7 or anybody else that's doing it, like the whole process.
So she just started speaking this other language, and I was like, oh, this sounds oddly familiar. Like, and I remembered then like speaking it as a child. What it is it's frequency. It's the frequency and the intonation of the words are not so much important, but it's the frequency and the energy behind the vocalizations that she's doing. Because everything is the body is all energy, right? So she's moving energy for people with a light language, or she'll send love bombs and things like that, where she'll put energy and send it, and it goes where it needs to go. But the light language is so powerful because it gets past all of your subconscious belief systems, and it really penetrates directly to the heart. So it gets past all of that stuff. So it bypasses all of that. And so people are able to actually go, oh, wait a minute, something's happening here. And especially that's why I let Seven start speaking out, because kids, a lot of people think, oh, kids they don't know anything. But like in Hopi tribes and ancient traditions, they actually revered the children for their knowledge and wisdom because they were so connected to the other side, because they had just come from there. So they looked at them as like sages and things like that. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And so I started to really listen to the things that she was saying. And then when she started doing the light language, I started to feel she's moving energy inside of me. Like whatever she's doing, she's moving the energy. So it's like anybody that's open to it, if you're not open to it, then you won't receive it. But if you're open to it and you kind of say, yes, okay, I'm open to receiving that, the energy will penetrate and go where it needs to go. She does specific ones for like headaches and things like that, or she'll do specific ones for like connecting you to your ET guides and stuff like that. But it's really interesting. If you listen to some of her TikTok videos, you can hear other entities coming through saying 7, or like saying different words and things like that, because a lot of people have picked up on it. They're like, whoa, who are these other voices coming through? And those are her guides. And I asked her, I'm like, do you hear those? And she's like, yes. She's like, there's many of them that come through, but I just have to discern which ones are which, and kind of make sense of who's talking to me and who's really important, to listen to. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you for explaining that. 'Cause, yeah,
Mhm.
I was just being like a goofball, and I just started doing it. And then I was like, wait a minute. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck is it? And then I'm like, what is it? What is it that sevens do? And I need to understand this. I'm like, I remember this from childhood. And then
Yeah,
I
it's
started
just
talking
your
to
heart.
people, a lot of people do it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just your heart. If you just connect your heart with the higher realms and you allow the energy to come through, you'll start speaking words. And a lot of people try to take over the words and they try to make them something. That's not what you want to do. You just want to allow it to stream through you. And there's something that she does at the very beginning, and we both do this. The very beginning before she starts, she says, "Tatakanishtua kaeneaka anaekua." And we don't know if this is Sanskrit, we don't know what it is, but it's the same thing that she does and that I do before we even start light language. And it's the same phrase, and it sounds very much like people have said, it sounds very much like what ancient Sanskrit was like if they were speaking it. So we don't know exactly, but there's linguistic people that have looked into it, and they've said it sounds very much like these ancient languages.
Have you ever tried to translate? Now that we
Uh,
have AI.
yeah. We haven't done the AI translation, but I've had her go through and tell me exactly, and she's like, it's not. She always stresses, Mom, it's not so much important the words, it's the energy that comes through. So, don't get hung up on the words, but she can translate it. She's like, this is the gist of it, essentially, like this is the gist of what she's saying. And it makes complete sense because she was like, okay, it's like closing the back chakras, closing the back chakras. So, because that's all past life stuff that we don't need anymore. So we close the back chakras first and then open the front chakras and then allow the energy to come through, clearing the energies in this area and then in the solar plexus and then opening up and then you receive the frequency. So she's doing all of that in the beginning and stuff. So yeah. So it's pretty much a similar process that she goes through when she's doing her transmissions, but it always has like based on whatever it is she's trying to accomplish. The beginning part is the same, and then the middle part is doing the same things, and then the end part is kind of whatever she's trying to accomplish with that.
It's awesome. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anthony.
Well, I find it interesting in my own journey because what I see is a whole bunch of just a lot of very individual experiences is exactly what, is talked about in the phenomena and what the CIA files look about the phenomena. And it pretty much kind of whatever you look on television and they're doing like any of the ghost stuff or anything like that, which is what they're all measuring energy. They're all on there with their energy devices. Like heck, now we got people out there with Chris Bledsoe and energy devices, So it's like, well, we're all trying to figure out this use of energy in apparently a lot of different forms. And what I find unique about your intersection is there's this melding of with your mother daughter, and there's like stuff about mother daughter stuff that
Mhm.
that has been written about, that gets kind of enmeshed, and so for me as like a therapist or whatnot, I'm observing this because we're having individual awakenings and we're having a collective awakening too. And so my view of it is like, holy moly, there is this thing that's going on that we don't really know what it is. There is things about funny languages or things coming out of people in all kinds of different mythologies. And there are people that are coming together that are trying to figure out what it all means. I would
Mhm.
say that in my own journey, the thing about the words and stuff, it's not so much that they mean anything.
Right.
More like they're an instrument.
Yeah.
Okay, you're a
Yeah.
guitar now. Okay, okay, that's the way you sing. That's
Mhm.
interesting. Code, right? But also, there's somebody out there that wants that in a song. They want to just like that, or somehow their brain receives it like that. So it's really hard to make sense of, except that if it's being received and the people are going inwards and there's care and love in this, well then it's it's harnessing love. And so something is the out product of that, the physical out product is some sound or voice or something that is that. And that may be divine, right?
Yeah.
Is the way I look
ver-
at it.
I very much feel like it is divine. When she was 3, I had a headache. I was going to do a removal for somebody. They had like negative energy in there. They had a dispensary shop, right? And they had earthquakes there, that they had like a bunch of floods, and like a bunch of things happened to this dispensary in the same location like several times. And so she was like, there's something, paranormal going on. So I was going to do like a removal, and it was going to be a couple hours. Well, all of a sudden I got this huge headache, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. So something like clearly didn't want me to fix this or whatever. And Seven was like, do you want me to take care of your headache? And I'm like, okay, sure, baby. I don't think you can, but like, go ahead. And then she was like, she like pulled something out of my nose and threw it out the window. And I was like, what did you just do? Because my headache was gone. And she was like, you're welcome. And then she just went on and played and did whatever she was doing. And that's like so typical of kids. Like she just, just like, boop, 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 okay, you're good. And I was just like, how have you always been able to do that? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, why haven't you done that before? And she's like, well, you haven't asked me, and I didn't have an opportunity to. And I'm like, okay. And that's when I started realizing, like, okay, we get to listen to these kids because they have a lot to say. And if we just listen and we don't edit their conversations, and we don't try to tell them what to think, we just ask them what their thoughts are, they will come up with some really profound things that are really mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're correct. I think it seems to be that way. And I remember talking to you specifically, about like, wow, it seems like there's this like dual awakening. It's like there's this symbiotic relationship of like learning, and everything that I learned is like, yeah, the CIA really studied this with like lots of stuff, and not even just the CIA people. It's like, oh, all the intelligence agencies, 13 of them. So let's just pick which one you want to call evil and which one you don't. But more importantly, us, let's see what they studied. And they seem to say two things. One is we all have this ability, and
Mhm.
and learning it, having fun with learning it seems to make it come about more. And that's also what you read in like woo-woo stuff outside of this. Okay. So it's like, okay, play with it a little bit. And it seems like having a little girl that may be like interested or something innate, and then you having your own, there might be just something really valuable in this that is for the collective, right?
Yeah, I very much believe that too. And it was like, I didn't really understand like why her father wasn't in our lives. That was like it was really tough for me. But I now understand it had to be just us two. It like that's the way that it had to go. It had to really be us two, like against the world kind of thing, like just us two trying to figure things out in order to get super close with one another, and to be able to, for me to like really listen to her, because all we had was each other. I mean, we went through times where we didn't have anything, like, like when he left, like he took all of our, like savings, everything. So we had to figure out ways to like just be able to survive. And it was like she was a baby, and like we figured it out together. And so it was like she became like my best friend and my daughter. And it's like this beautiful relationship ensued that like I wouldn't change it for the world. But if her dad, like I look back and I'm like, oh, if her dad had been there, it would have been different, because he would have edited it. He would not have let those things happen, So it was like it happened exactly the way that it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, I think that's a really good perspective. Like that, it seems to be some sort of reoccurring feature, and the more of us that are meeting together, we have some sort of turmoil or distress, and then we gain some sort of insight of like, what was it all for? And then it isn't so bad. It's more of like, oh, I got some teaching moments so that I could be better at doing this, because I have compassion and I have like these experiences. um so it really does seem like it's something that is universal. And the theme of like mothers and daughters coming together on this is like, maybe it's something that snowballs. Maybe it is the time of that. Maybe it is the time.
Yeah, and it wasn't always easy, because I mean, it's like they don't write a book for how to like parent children like this. And
period.
it's like she's always going in 15 different directions. She's always got like the mind is just so busy, but and so it's hard for me sometimes to not go, wait, is this what you're saying? Is this what you're saying? She's like, no, hold on, I'll get there. Just listen. And I'm like, okay. And so, yeah. And so she always like, she comes out with the most profound things if I just stop and I just listen and it's really, really powerful because I've noticed these kids, like, if we just listen to them, if we just listen and we stop trying to edit what they're saying, they will come out with it. It takes them a little longer because they don't have the words, the vocabulary that we have. But it's like they know they have in this little body, they have all this wisdom, and they're trying to just articulate it. And if we just be patient and allow them to get it out, they will tell you some profound things that will blow your mind.
Yeah, I think that seems to be the case. Um, I'm pretty sure of that, and it seems like it's going to increase. Uh, I think maybe even you were talking to me that like Dave Scott had reached out to you, and maybe what I think has happened on some of their podcast on some of his podcasts is they've talked about the kids in Australia. I believe it's Australia, the ones with
Mhm.
blindfolds that are just like reading things and stuff,
Yeah,
and how
yeah.
they're teaching and they're like increasing and they're doing it in a big way. And I just think that based on especially like Laura's sister just had a baby, and it seems like this child is like, whoa,
Oh
so
yeah, buckle up,
strange is
buckle
going
up.
on.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
my ex-partner, I went through her pregnancy with her, and she lives in over by Pennsylvania now, and her child is very much gifted as well. And so I don't know what that means, except that maybe like this consciousness really is like somehow got us all close together, and we're
It's
kind of
very childlike. If you guys haven't noticed,
right.
the phenomenon is very childlike.
Yes.
It plays with you and it's very, people say it's tricksterish. I don't believe it's tricksterish. I believe it's childlike. And
Yes.
it's and so that childlike enthusiasm, when you bring that through, you're going to have more contact with the phenomenon because you're tapping into the same energy that it is. And I
Mm.
think it is very childlike.
Yeah, yeah, and that just goes in with like, oh, the love energy, and what have I said about measuring or videotaping the orbs? They're definitely involved in love. They like euphoric love energy, dancing, moving energy, and so that seems to be what is written about them too. So holy moly! And then you just know, well, maybe they're like little satellites around us or little, and that is our aura. Is that what they're talking about? Little bubbles around
Yeah.
us is our
Yeah.
aura, and these little things, and you're like, how many of these little things can you raise your internal vibration and these things come around you? Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and so that's exactly what Mr. Bledsoe's got going on. I mean, he's got this high vibration that's bringing him down, and us that have seen him, that's what's going on, and it's only affirming it. It isn't saying we're perfect.
Yeah.
It's not saying we're perfect. It's not saying we're perfect. It's saying that, hey, you're on the right path. Keep going. Keep going. Tell everyone. Come along.
And it seems to come out for most people, like when you're going through the first time that you have the experience, it's usually when you're going through a moment of hell in your life where you're like, I don't know what to make heads or tails, because our first experiences started happening when after my divorce, and I was really broken up about it. And I was just like, man, I didn't even want to get out of bed every day because I didn't know like how I was going to make money. It was just really traumatic. And then she started having these experiences, and that pulled me out of it. It pulled me out of it to be like, wow, there's something more, there's more to this. And it just really, so it's really beautiful. It seems to know when we need it the most, and when we are open to it. And and then it will completely just come in and just show you there's more to this life experience than just this human experience that you're having. There's more.
Right. Right. And I think you and I kind of have some similar like paths in that we dabbled in a lot of maybe things that weren't so healthy for our bodies and stuff. And but with that, maybe we're also gifted with like a spirit that allows us to like go through those processes and it doesn't somehow drag us in forever like it does some people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, when I was younger, I went through a lot of dark stuff. I had a back problem. I fell in cheerleading and then I got addicted to painkillers for a while. I went through a very dark stage of my life, where I was just, not happy with things. And, I had an experience with an energy I'd say it kind of tried to kill me, which it did, but like it, it tried to like consume me. But then I realized later on, oh my gosh, that happened to wake me up because I was going through all of this dark stuff. And it was the only thing that pulled me out of it, because then the energy told me, look, get it together, use your gifts, stop doing this nonsense, and like we will protect you. And I was like, Okay. And then I've never been attacked ever again. And I also don't look at things as like good and evil, because Seven's really helped me with that, because she's like, nothing is evil. Nothing is evil. It just
right,
is. And it's everything is experiencing itself, trying to understand what to make out of this situation. And if it doesn't figure it out in this lifetime, it'll figure it out in the next one. But or maybe not, or maybe it'll take several lifetimes. But nothing is inherently evil. And that was a really big shift for me to get to, because I think there's a lot that we don't really understand, that a lot of religions have tried to put us in this box of like, oh, this is good and this is evil, and it's not black and
right.
white like.
And they're really trying to explain, that's why oftentimes in many, even in the, well, it just shows a lot of scales.
Uh-huh.
Just shows a lot of scales. And if you just try to like, well, scale, there's nothing evil about a scale. It's just like we got a little too much on this side, and now we got a little too much on this side. And so yeah, perhaps it does require us to kind of view, well, maybe we've gone a little too far this way. Seems like as an Earth, I mean, it's talking talking to Seven, I definitely got some alone time with her there, and I definitely got to talk to her. The youth have a message, and perhaps it's a little. Maybe we're supposed to unify a little bit more. Maybe they actually want to grow up um with hopes and dreams and wants, and maybe that's being expressed uh
Mm.
through these fractals of energy that can feel it and see it and know that they need to speak up, and they just so happen to have mothers they don't even know exactly everything to go on, but they're listening.
Mhm.
They're listening because they can see, oh my gosh, how am I even surviving in this? And like, how is my daughter gonna survive in this, right? How's my
Mhm.
kids gonna survive?
That's what
So,
I think about. I've got kids that are about to be adults in just a couple years.
right.
And I'm like, what the beep?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And trying to figure out how they're going to surf through it while we're just trying to manage do it, and looking at retirements and houses and things like that. There's a whole group of people that are going, wait a second, I'm already supposed to have something and I don't. And by time I do get it, it'll never be mine. It's like that's what we got going on right now. And it's going to take some of us people that understand that that's going on to really change this course of this ship in a very quick way. That's what,
And
and it's connected to technology. All of this thing in
Mhm.
this thing that I went down and visited you, and we had this very shamanic, real healing type like experience. It's real,
Mhm.
and in my mind, I just had another experience with another person in my life, and I just told Jamie, I said, the minute you all are together, it makes me cry when I think about it, because I know what's getting ready to happen is when you guys start meeting up and going, oh my God, this is really real. This is really real beyond just me. It's like with this person too, and they got all weird synchronicities and numbers and stuff that doesn't even make sense too, and they're right here too. They're right here too, and we're all doing it together. And I think that it's only going to increase. It's only going to increase because how would the energy do what it did, with this number 129 with you and the things that we had on? And then the same thing, this person gets in my car, they don't know where I'm going, I don't know where I'm going. I say push the thing, it reroutes us twice and then gets us on road 530, and then has a moment in the woods where I don't like to have my phone out or any technology. And I said, well, I'm just telling you, you pull that out, you're gonna see something weird. And it's at 5:03 and there's a snake. And so that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. It's technology together. And the more we're not going to figure it out until we keep doing it. And I keep doing it in a loving, bringing it out in a loving, like we're under rainbows, we're eating watermelon in the wilderness. What else do you need, people? It's like we're having the magic again.
Yep, and I believe these technologies, like you guys know, I work with DMT, and I believe DMT is a technology that assists us in achieving these higher states of consciousness, and also it facilitates this connection to the divine or to these other realms that some people like. It's not required, but it is, and it's like a technology that can assist you to build that bridge there. And it's really beautiful. Like I've done ceremony for people who are atheists and came out of it. They're like, oh my gosh, like, wow. Okay. I get it. Like, wow. And those like, that makes me cry, like thinking of it. Cause I had 2 clients that were atheists prior to experiencing it. And then they just they knew they're like, there is something greater than us out there. I'm like, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just thought interesting. Yesterday, you shared a picture with me that I already knew about, right? But and it's Jim Semivan with a book in the background, with DMT. Now that intersection is pretty cool with you and I, because you and I know what we experienced when I was there with the blood
Yeah.
cell. There's nothing. It's just mind blowing magicalness, right? And so. And then you also know that I definitely received some sort of what in the heck is this woman taking me to mind-blowing experience of like, okay, she's showing me something that I've read about, I've heard people talk about, and now I'm experienced. And I still don't even know what that all means, except there's something behind that. There's something behind your eyeballs and my eyeballs, right? And it's something exists there. And I think our government knows about it.
Oh, they most definitely know about it. So yeah, what he was talking about was I was watching an interview with Jim Semivan. He doesn't do many interviews, but he was in his library, and you could see very, 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 like I was looking at all the books, and I'm like, oh, there's one very clearly DMT, the spirit molecule book. And so I circled it and I sent it to Anthony. I'm like, see, they definitely know about DMT and the connection, because why else would he have that book there? Yeah.
Yeah, and meanwhile, in my head, all I can think about is pictures of little Ryan Bledsoe with an organite blanket and Jim Semivan, and then just like doing the research. Who's Jim Semivan, right? Who's that guy? Is he still alive? Is he anybody? And then, in my journey, this is where it's like this, we're in the group of people that are like, there are very real vetted people that are just doing their work. They're doing the job that, well, it's up to us. We're the ones to help go, hey, there's something that's intersecting with our government and they're reacting to it. And we have to help kind of with that transition. There's nobody doing in my journey. I'm helping awaken people to help us go, hey, I think our government's trying to tell us truth. Is that true? And then when you do something like this, right? There's a CIA official, like very clearly DMT book in the back. Maybe we ought to check that out. What does it mean in ancient mythologies? Does it mean that the government is evil? No. That would mean that all of these ancient mythologies are evil.
Have they done evil things? Yes, but it's not, I think it was in an attempt to help us in a way. And they don't know how to figure it out. They don't know how to make sense of it either, because they're like, oh gosh, if we give this information to the public, like they're going to freak out, because it's also going to destroy all of these religious organizations, everything that they believe in. It's going to completely go to the whole Bible and all of that, like, oh geez, like that was wrong. And so they're just trying to kind of look out for us and go, well, let's make sense of this before we deliver this information forward, you know? So that's what I see as well. I don't see the government as being like solely evil people. I don't think that. I think there are some people in there that don't have the right, they don't have the right idea about it. But I do think that, like, as a whole, I do think that they are trying to, they think they're doing their best, you know, but
Right.
they're caught up in the system. And like my daughter always says, hurt people hurt people. So it's like, if it's passed along down your generation to where you're, you know, you're abusive, or you're this, or you're this is going to be expressed in, you know, your, like, in your experience with your children. So once you stop that cycle, and stop blaming forward, then things can sort of go and the pieces can fall in place. So I think once we stop blaming the government, stop doing the
Mhm.
things that we've done before and going, okay, when eye for an eye, like they need to be persecuted for this, like, okay, no, they've done some things that are shady for sure. Let's just look past it. Let's move
Mhm.
on. What I always say is like
Mhm.
amnesty. And what matters
Mhm.
is what happens from today forward. If they keep making mistakes, okay, then we can hold them accountable. But like,
Yes.
let's just move forward, because I think they know like all of the things that have been done in the past are like, oh my gosh, how are we going to cover this out? Like, it's just too much. So, and it's not even stuff they've done, it's stuff their ancestors have done. So they just
Ah,
want to clear it, you know?
yes. Yeah, I think yeah, we've talked a bit about that, and it seems like, yeah, it seems like they're intersecting with something, and maybe part of our job is like, wait a second. eh, They're talking about weird stuff that regular people outside of there are talking about. And then I think also you hear me talking about these like archetypes or these energies, and then I'll ask people, well, what do you know? And a lot of people are like Yeshua, Krishna, Yahweh, or Osiris, or Jesus, or whatever. And I've been really encouraging people, hey, find that same winter
Right.
solstice archetype on every continent. If you find it on every continent, you just go, whoa. You just get, you immediately go, whoa, there is maybe something bigger than just my world religion or just that world. They may be connected in a way that our government is trying to tell us about right now. That's,
Yes.
I think, might be part of our journey as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't want to say all religions are wrong. I think there's a thread to all of them that is truth. I think it's just got polluted, and they've tried to keep this narrative straight. So it's like, oh, this must align here. So we've got to keep this narrative going. And it's, I mean, that must be so tiring, because when it doesn't fit anymore, they're like, oh, what are we gonna do? You know, and so this gives them an opportunity to go, okay, like there is a place for all of this, and it all, if it all goes back to ancient Egypt. I firmly believe everything that we're talking about goes back to ancient Egypt, and if we look at the keys there, then we'll find the answer.
Yeah, and even, yeah, and what we're actually finding out is that I believe this. That's there's exactly the reason why they're showing us Egypt, why all of the symbology of how we were, our foundation stone, and everything that was built around Washington, D.C., and the original signers of the Constitution. It's not what they were a part of, it's the knowledge that they know. It's the internal gnosis of the knowledge that they have gained through their building. Hey, we're going to create a new a place, and we're going to do it with the knowledge, and the gnosis of that is we have faith that what we're doing now will play out, what, a couple hundred years down the road.
Mhm.
And we hope that the archetype of this kind of template of energy that seems to be associated with this Egypt will present itself. And if we show it in this generalized form, it's big enough that it overlays with other mythologies. It just does very,
Mhm.
very beautifully, like in like the Trinity, in the things in threes, the winter solstice, the same alignments that are with Jesus are with Osiris or Amun Ra, and even back farther, even Zoroastrian. So what we end up finding is, oh, it is the time of the weavers, and we just happen to be weavers of data points. That's all we are. We
Mhm.
understand that we can see all the dots and we just got to go, oh, I got to stitch that. When somebody says it's this way, you're already there with 3 different needles and 3 different threads of go, oh, we just thread. Yeah, that's just this one in this time period.
Mhm.
That's this one in this time period. And then this is what these people thought in that same thing. And that's what we're getting.
And
Oh my-
every human being has a beautiful place in this equation. Every single one of us are important in delivering this forward. Like every single one of us, we have an important mission in this. And so if everybody will just go within and go figure out what is that piece for me? What does that look like for me? For me, I think it's the medicine, connecting the medicine with the DMT, the technology, connecting the medicine to the phenomenon and those kinds of things. For you, it's the military and connecting those pieces. For Jamie, it's you just have this divine knowing, and you have this ability to bring all these people together. It's this connector energy. This is like we all have these pieces within us, so it's really great to see people figuring out what their piece is and all of it.
Yeah. And perhaps we're all just linked shoulder to shoulder anyhow. And that seems like a pretty darn good team to me.
Yeah.
I'd love to be shoulder to shoulder with a whole bunch of moms that are just going like, wait, what the heck is actually going on here? This is kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
I want to be on that team.
Moms
Totally.
get shit done, man. They
Yeah,
totally-
we do. We don't mess around. We don't mess around.
We're not messing around. We're getting ready to bring a new universal truth that on a bigger scale that I don't even know if we're even fully aware of how big it's going to get around us. I think it's going to be pretty darn neat.
It already is pretty darn neat. I mean, the things that keep happening, it's like, wow, I'm like so blessed to be alive during this time. It's just so it's so fabulous. I'm like, it would be so boring to like if I think back to my old existence in high school, I was like going to school and like caring about like, oh, that would be so boring. This is so much more interesting. I get to go see phenomenon in the sky and like get out there and
Yeah.
like really, yeah, it's just like it's beautiful.
Right. And me, I'm thinking, I was just telling somebody the other day, I said, listen, somebody asked me at the on Tuesday nights I go to the Rose Garden. On Wednesday nights I go to Rose Garden, and they were asking, I said, listen, man, I this is my life. I just like live retired Army life now. And like I get on a plane and I go some lady's house in LA. She's going to teach me some things. I'm going to teach hers. And this is where I see my life going, is that I'm about ready to embark upon this whirlwind of me going and lifting up people's voices in like a KLIT report, news report, in a funny way of like, you got to catch this one. This one's doing it like this, right? Here we are. We're doing this. We're doing, and what I'm going to get is a whole bunch of darn experiences, but in a fun way. I'm gonna do it
Yeah.
in a fun way. And I'm gonna do it in an organic, loving way of like, hey, this is a love movement going on. Let's see what we can really do with this. Let's see what we can really build.
And there is something more to that. There is like the KLIT thing. There is something more to the sexual energy that I don't think we even understand. I think it's we've been so ingrained to think like sex is bad or dirty, or it's this weird thing that we're not supposed to experience. But yet when you have experiences with this phenomenon and people have had out of body experiences, there is a sexual element to it that makes you feel like almost orgasmic. And so there is that element that I think people we're still trying to figure out exactly what that means. But I think what it may mean is on the other side, sex isn't the way that we've put it in this box here.
Mm.
And it's a way to achieve the divine, a way to experience the divine in a different sense. So I think that's also that understanding is coming to light too.
Yeah, the what I call the confusing energy of like, wait a second, I feel that weird energy with the UFO, and I felt it with other things as well in this life. Um, and one of the things that I noticed is uh when we were doing the ceremony, the one ceremony that really, the Changa ceremony, is that what it is?
Mhm.
Changa.
Yep.
That
Mhm.
ceremony brought a euphoric feeling in me that I just started, somehow these natural love urges started
Mhm.
coming into me, and I was like, I was like knocked out and stuff, but I could feel this overcoming me. And
Yeah.
then and I had a similar experience this past week in the wilderness at the waterfall. So I'm wondering, like, that's confusing, right? It's
Very
confusing.
confusing because it's like, what am I supposed to do with this now? How is this connected to this? Like the divine, it's very confusing. But I think what it means is on the other connect with the divine, and it's not meant to be put into a box. It's not meant to be viewed as like dirty or anything. That's not. I think we've gotten it all wrong, you know. And so I think
Because of
that's just
how we
more,
presented it, though. Like, if you think about it, how have we presented it? Like,
yeah.
it's materialized, and that's definitely not what it is. It's sacred.
It's sacred. Yeah, it's not, you're not meant to be going to have, sex with, it is a way that they even did in ancient Egypt to heal people. They used sex to like heal the soul and to heal certain parts of things. And they would do these rituals and do these that, because I've been doing a lot of research around this, and it's like, wow, okay, this was used as a way to, as a tool to actually heal people's souls. So there's something to that. What I'm still discovering. But yeah, I've noticed a lot of people that experience Changa and DMT have said the same thing. It brings about this sexual energy that opens up for them, especially if they've been closed off to that for a while. And it opens up to them. It's like, whoa, what is this? And it's a very confusing thing when that happens, because it's like, what does this mean now? Okay. But yeah, I think it's meant to be explored.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had it. We had an in-depth conversation about this, and the cool thing is we had this in-depth conversation after we went to the Fringe Festival, and we saw like flooding type of comedy in front of us, and then we had a very in-depth conversation about some of this stuff.
Mhm.
And there's probably something about how we do think about it and how we feel about it. And then it's overlaid with like all of our trauma, both like I have trauma as a male, just being on earth. I have trauma from women on this earth with
Mhm.
around sexuality. So it's like apparently we're gonna get to a point of like, oh, okay, we're just doing things all wrong. What would you like to do? And what would I like to do? And are we the same type that would like to do that? Let's go. Once we start working on the paradigm, what the lights in the sky here are for a paradigm shift. What kind of paradigm shift, you might ask? Oh, a paradigm shift about world equitable distribution of wealth and funds and just basic needs all over the earth. We're part of that. It's not just about little woo woo stuff. There's very real physical things that are going to happen on earth. They're already started.
Yeah.
And we all see that. We all know we're talking about the metaphysical, like the stuff that's Chris Bledsoe seeing the lights in the sky, those bring the magic on the ground. We're helping to dispense the magic on the ground, tell people about it, which creates more of it, which creates the physical change on earth, the physical
Mhm.
love change.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is, that's my understanding, is it is all about love and acceptance of everything that is love, not putting things into a box and saying, no, that's not the kind of love I want to experience, so it's wrong. But not judging those things, and as long as it is about love, it's okay, right? But and reconfiguring those things out for ourselves, like consent and love and unity. Anything that is taking us farther away from unity is incorrect. Like that's the thing my guides have told me too. It's like, if it's not taking you towards unity, then don't pay attention to it, because it's very important that we all come together during this time, and that we all accept each other the way that each other is. And as long as it's about love and growth and coming together, then it can't be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, that's exactly it. And when it looks like s- people who have seen something in another person of value, inviting them into their space
Mhm.
as a woman with their child, and knowing that we've had these interactions. And you know how I was telling Laura, I said, the type of woman that woman was. Uh, she got up in the middle of the night, did something, and then went in her bedroom, came back out, and put a blanket on top of me. That's what we got going on there. That's the type of love we got going on going to LA.
A mama.
Yeah. Yeah. That's we have all this talk about, sexuality, orbs or whatnot, but it's actually about love, people. It's actually just about love. It's actually about finding what the reality of this is and understanding that we've both been through something and we're here for each other and as a
Mhm.
team. Apparently we're coming together as a team in a big way. And I
Yeah.
could feel that.
I feel that too. I definitely feel that too. And it's exciting. It's exciting to see people who were never open to these things all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, there's something here. And like that to me is just the most exciting thing to see that happen. And then to see all of us grow even more and more when we come together and to see different aspects of it. And then to that opens you up to even more things. So mm,
Yeah. I'm
yeah,
grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you guys too. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
So
It's no,
hopefully this,
no coincidence that you guys have all come into my life and,
right.
it just keeps growing and keeps building and I love it.
Well, I was telling Jamie, I said, I just had this experience with Drazmeen Drag Ohm here in Eugene, and I know that, like, if we start doing what they've shown us, is like we just tag team everybody and we
Mhm.
let everybody know our weaved web. We just start weaving it. And basically what we do is we find them and then we kind of vet them through it. Like we're weaving each other. We're vetting and weaving at the same time.
It's working smarter, not harder.
Yes.
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 And building people up and telling them, showing them the best version of themselves and like saying, you can
Oh,
do this versus you can't,
yes.
versus women holding each other up and saying, you can do this. Like, I believe in you. That, that energy to me is the most beautiful thing that I've ever experienced because when I was younger, I was used to women tearing each other down and it never made sense to me. It didn't. I was always so confused because I was like, what? No, I just want to help all of you, like be amazing. And
Yes.
so now it's so beautiful to see that coming together and see other women who share that. And I think it's just going to keep growing and compounding and getting bigger too.
Yeah, that's definitely happening. Yeah, you're right about that.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for saying that.
So,
Yeah.
what are some of the services that you offer that people could like email you or call you about?
Sure. So I do ceremonies all over the world that are like 5 day, 4 or 5 day ceremonies. We're going to have one coming up in Big Bear soon, and then another one in Mount Shasta. I'll get the dates on that. But then I also do private ceremonies with DMT with people. And you can email me about that, Kirsten at psychicbabes.com. I also do avatar healing, which, so the way that my guides have explained the avatar healing is I use DMT because it's a technology and it allows me to see a projection of the energetic body versus the physical body in between my hands. And then because the other person is involved in the healing, I'm not healing anybody, they're actually healing themselves and I just bring the frequency of healing. And so then I'm like the conductor, I'm moving the energy, right? So Reiki is working directly on the physical body, in which that's effective for some things, but for most things, like our energy, if our body perceives it to be coming from somewhere else, it will reject it. Just like if you're getting a kidney transplant, you have to get anti-rejection meds, right? So when we do the avatar healing, it's very effective because it's going from me to you through source. So it's creating a triangle. So there is no rejection that happens. So as long as you're open to it and you believe that you can heal yourself, it works, and it works very, very, very fast, and it works very, very well. So So do avatar healing. I also do psychic readings. I tend to not, I don't really like doing the ones that are like, oh, am I going to get married tomorrow? Like, because I think we should be focusing on bigger things, like what can we do as a collective? But yeah, so I do psychic readings for things like that. And I also do regressions. So people who would like to go back into their consciousness and find out where they were in a past life, or even if they have a memory of something but they can't quite access it, then I do regression techniques to be able to do that. And then Psych K is also something that I intermingle with my avatar healing, because what Psych K does is it allows us to reprogram the mind, to reprogram our subconscious thoughts to align more with the things that we want to bring into our life. Because a lot of time the subconscious has all these belief systems and programs running that don't really serve us anymore, but we don't know quite how to get rid of them. So Psych K uses the left-right brain connection, where you connect those two together and then you undo it, and you undo that programming. So those are some types of the different services that I offer. I also do spirit drawings. I do galactic astrology, which is looking at your astrology, like when you were born, time you were born, and then linking it to the different planetary systems to see what your origins are, like what your last incarnation was and what your initial incarnation was on what planet where, or what dimension, you know, what frequency and stuff. So I like doing that stuff too. So.
Oh my God, I'm totally hiring you.
Yeah, so I would say to people, if I had to say anything, what I think is happening when people are saying that is they're giving their interpretation of what we know about ancient mythology over and over again. This is how they do it. This is like how they try to explain, like it's crazy stuff. We don't nobody know. Like we're trying to explain it, right? And then
Yeah.
right, and then they explain it, and then also that because of that, this thing is bringing the intuitive people who are just kind of going inward and going, well, intuitively, I feel like doing this.
Mhm.
And it seems, and I seem to get positive feedback from it. The positive feedback loop is indicative of somebody who's going inward and going, man, I don't need, I'm I'm throwing this knowledge, it's coming through and out me, and I'm just being a vessel of it. And so it's pretty darn neat.
Yeah, yeah. And I love DMT has really been instrumental for me in healing past traumas and letting go of this religious programming and stuff that I had, because I grew up Catholic. So my parents were very much like demons and, you know, this kind of stuff. So it really allowed me to release a lot of that religious programming and to let go of all of these preconceived notions that I had, that I knew intellectually, but I just couldn't see it. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And DMT allows that bridge to happen to where you get to experience it. And so then it opens up a whole new level, because the brain is pattern recognition software. So if it sees something and experiences it to be real, it opens up a new level of the brain where it goes, oh, okay, well, that means this then, and that means this. And then you can expand upon that. So that's what DMT does for me, and it allows me to help facilitate that in others as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
Shout out to the DMT.
Yeah. Shout out to
And you
the
have a
DMT.
cool shirt on too, don't you? You were showing me your shirt earlier.
Yes,
What do you
it's
got?
a
Oh,
yellow submarine, and on the back it says, I make DMT because we all make DMT.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah, because we all make DMT endogenously, you know, like we produce it naturally in the body. So so it's like people are like, oh wait, you make DMT? I'm like, all of us do. All of our bodies make
yeah.
DMT. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
So
thank you.
Sell those shirts, like your
yeah.
own Shopify.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. I've been thinking about that. A friend
thank
made
you
this
for
one.
you're so creative with your spirit. I'm so grateful for, I mean, you really, I think we're about ready to see even more creativity come out of you in a really uh beautiful way. I really do. I just, it's
Thank
so
you.
playful. You can just imagine like somebody's just playfully trying to bring this energy. It's going to get exciting for you. I know it is.
It is, because I've been tapping into more of my childlike enthusiasm, and we were out at the pool the other night, and we were doing British voices. We were just like, oh, lovely darling, like, and we were all doing that. We were being so silly, but it was like it did something inside of me, like it moved some energy inside me that was just like, oh, it brought me back to my childhood when me and my brother were stuck in like London Gatwick Airport and we started doing these British accents and we were just having a freaking ball. And it was like, wow, this is, oh, okay, it's bringing this, it's healing that for me and it's bringing that through for me. And then I get to be a better mother to my daughter because I get to bring more of those energies to her. And it's just, it's a beautiful thing that's happening. So you're right. This is definitely, for me, this is a culmination and it's bringing more of those energies through for me as well.
Oh, great. Oh, that's so great to hear.
It's
Oh,
making it
amazing.
easier. But hey, I have a suggestion for the tent on Thursday that we all speak in our British voices only the
Oh
entire
my
time.
God, I would love it, darling. That would be fabulous. Fabo.
Yes,
It's
That's-
tea.
it's
And I
your
just
fault.
want to say thank you guys for everything that you do. Anthony and Jamie, you guys are fabulous. I'm so grateful to have you in my lives, truly. You guys are such amazing individuals. And to have the red tent where all these ladies come together is just such a beautiful thing. And it's such a, I didn't realize how much I needed it. But I did. Yeah. And it's been really, really good for me. And Anthony, you as well, like having you come here and just, yeah, just solidify things. And it's just
Yes.
been really beautiful. Yeah.
Mhm. We're on the right path, and the Shelly's getting ready to have another physical red tent moment. She's going to see the red moon tent at the Oregon Country Fair,
Uh-huh.
and that's getting ready to happen here. And it's very much like everything that we're talking about. Hey, what if we brought back festivals again? What if we did that?
And they drank Kaikion back in the day when they were doing that, which is DMT, actually, which is a DMT inspired drink with Dionysus. Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh yeah. They did. That was that was part of it. So
The girl knows her stuff. She's connecting the dots.
My gosh, we need more time. We need like just sessions about different things.
yeah. No. Well, it's just been
All right.
fabulous. Thanks, guys. Love you.
Love you. See you
Love you
guys.
guys.